Has Pete Hegseth committed war crimes? That is the question hanging over the Pentagon right now after the U.S. Secretary of Defense denied that he ever gave an order to quote-unquote kill everyone on a boat attack inside the Caribbean. But right now, the details are coming out, and it's quite explosive. So let's break it down. If you don't know, the Washington Post put an investigative report online showing that back in September, when the United States was tracking a small boat in the Caribbean, according to their sources, Pete Hegseth allegedly instructed U.S. forces to kill everyone on board. Not detain, not disable, but kill. And while that could be considered a war crime, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that after the U.S. struck said boat, there were still survivors hanging on to the wreckage, in which you could go pick them up and question them. Nope. Pete Hegseth said to kill everyone. According to the Post, the admiral at that time, Frank Mitch Bradley, had ordered that second strike because he needed to comply with what Pete Hegseth said, which is a kill everyone directive. Now, when it comes to international law, obviously there are certain gray areas, but ultimately, you can take out said people if they quote-unquote pose a threat. But these people were holding on to their sinking boat, clearly not a threat. Yet, under the directive of Pete Hegseth, the U.S. government took these people out. Let's also remember that we're finding out, thanks to many investigations, including from the Associated Press, that many of these men that are quote-unquote smuggling drugs, they're not cartel bosses or terrorists. They're like very low-level fishermen that are just ferrying things across. Which means taking them out is not actually stopping the root cause of the issue. Instead, they're just taking out one of these smaller veins, which in itself is kind of war crime to begin with. That aside, what Pete Hegseth has done here is now getting him in a lot of trouble. Now, he is denying all of this, saying that, well, this is all just fake news and that these strikes were lawful under both U.S. and international law. But where do you stand on this? Do you think Pete Hegseth is committing war crimes in the Caribbean? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more. Two massive oil tankers got blown out of service in the Black Sea, thanks in part to naval drones. These ships are oil tankers, and they work with, or they actually are, the Russian Shadow Fleet. These were empty at the time before people start freaking out. They weren't filled with oil. They were actually on their way back to Russia to get more fuel to try to circumnavigate all of the sanctions that the United States and the world are currently putting onto Russia. Firefighters worked throughout the night to extinguish the fires. You can actually see one of them right here. The fire is out, but this ship right here can no longer be used alongside with that other ship. This was not a random attack. It was done by Ukrainian forces who are stopping the Russian Shadow Fleet because essentially what Russia's been doing is, since they cannot sell their fuel legally, they put them on barges and try to get them to other ports. And every time that Russia sells millions of dollars worth of fuel, they turn around and use said money to buy weapons to use against Ukraine. So if Russia doesn't have these ships, it means they can't make money, which means they can't send more weapons into Ukraine. And it did not stop there. In the same night, Ukraine targeted the Caspian Pipeline Consortium, something in which it handles more than 1% of the world's oil. That, by the way, had to stop operations because of the damage. And I know what you're thinking. Well, isn't Europe angry about this? Nope. Europe wants these ships gone. And so if this is the way to do it, then this is the way to do it. We haven't heard from Russia about this, but allies are cheering it on. They're very happy about this. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more. The FDA has just admitted something that it never publicly acknowledged before, and it could rewrite the way that vaccinations are done here in the United States, and I need to break this down for you. We're getting this information due to an internal memo that was leaked. It actually was published by PBS and put online. The memo states that the FDA's top regulator is pushing for far stricter vaccination approval processes because, according to the memo, COVID-19 vaccinations were linked to the deaths of 10 children. With the FDA now saying they're going to be re-examining the annual flu shot policy and reconsidering giving multiple shots during a visit. According to this regulator, they're saying that these 10 children got the vaccination and then somehow got myocarditis. With the regulators saying this is a new profound revelation, and so the agency will now recognize these deaths to be tied to COVID, and that if anyone disagrees with them, they should resign now. But experts are pushing back against this, saying in this memo, it doesn't mention the ages, nor medical histories, no manufacturer names, and no explanation how this even goes together. With one expert saying that this is very dangerous, adding that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and there is none in this memo. And other former FDA officials are kind of chiming in, saying these new rules could slow down vaccination development nationwide, which could ultimately make us sicker with time. The bottom line is, in order to understand whether or not a vaccination actually caused the death of 10 children, you need to do everything from autopsies into full investigations, provide a list of information so that other scientists can study it and actually see if what is being said is actually true. And we just don't know that right now. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated, though, if this does go into effect, if these vaccinations will take longer, if any of these rules change. So please do share this video and follow me for more. Would you actually trust the United States in doing a durable, fair peace deal? I say this after a week long of bombshell reports in which we saw Trump's own team working against him to provide information to our enemies to manipulate the President of the United States. Also add in the bombshell report yesterday in which we found out that the only reason why the Trump administration wants to stop certain wars is so they can start lining their pockets with billions of dollars. All of this comes up because we're finding out at this very moment representatives from Ukraine are here in the United States to meet tomorrow with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, the guy who actually kind of did treason against the President of the United States, and the son-in-law of the President, Jared Kushner. And according to Zelensky, this is what he says here. The American side is demonstrating a constructive approach, and in the coming days, it is feasible to flesh out the steps to determine how to bring the war to a dignified end. Now, how do you trust the United States in doing so after the most recent reports? After the things that the U.S. is doing behind the scenes so that they can line their pockets and essentially go against not only Ukraine, but also Europe. So I beg to ask the question to you. Do you trust the United States in all of this? Do you think the U.S. will actually be working in Europe's and obviously in Ukraine's kind of favor in this, or are they only in this so they can line their pockets and hope this war ends tomorrow so they can start business flowing right into Russia? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.